Today on the Ferguson Home, we want to talk to you about the 3 big lessons we've learned through Financial Peace University. This is the 3rd time for Barry and I to go through it, and we have learned a lot. Hey friends, welcome back to the Ferguson Home. We're so glad to have you with us today. Keith and Barry here. We'd love to have you subscribe to our channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, it just helps us to know that you're with us, that you're watching these videos, that they're being helpful to you. Today we want to talk about FPU, Financial Peace University. We just started this last week to go through the course again. This is our 3rd time, whether you believe that or not, 3rd time to go through this course. And we thought it would just be fun to share because we've seen growth every time we've gone through it and some of the big things we've learned along the way.
Yes. Okay. And I am so excited to do it again.
Can't you tell?
Yeah. So if you've done FPU, then you know that they kind of divide personalities into 2, which there's a lot more, and I'm kind of in the middle. But if you were to classify us just by knowing us a little, then I am the free spirit.
That's not true. She's a nerd.
He's the nerd. He's like super nerd, and I'm nerdish.
Oh, super nerd.
I'm nerdish, free spiritish.
Didn't Dave say there's no ish?
I was really convicted by that.
You can't do FPU.
That's a whole nother episode, but he said basically like an ish is a wish. If you're ishing anything, you're just wishing for it to happen.
You gotta do it. You gotta
I ish my way through life. Diet-ish, diet-ish.
Yeah.
Doesn't really help, but don't know about it.
It's good.
So anyways, okay, so what have we learned?
So big lessons we've learned. First of all, obviously a big part of FPU is not having debt. And I remember the first time we went to FPU, we had credit cards, we had loans on our cars, we had a 30-year mortgage on our house. And so I think it's a praise that, coming into this the 3rd time, we don't have a credit card, so we've cut those up.
We did cut it. If you can start Dave Ramsey and you do the first thing they say, which is cut up their credit cards, if you can do that, then you're well on the way to financial peace.
That's right. It's a big one.
It's a hard one.
Yeah. So
it was scary.
That's big. So we cut up credit cards, no credit cards for us. Second of all is we've paid off our car, so we don't have a car loan right now. And then 3rd thing is we went, just in this last year, we went to a 15-year mortgage on our house from a 30-year, so that's a big difference.
We see it as kind of a forced savings plan for us because we,
right.
It did increase what we have to pay monthly.
Mm-hmm. Not a ton though, partially because the interest rate was lower, and we refinanced during this time during the pandemic when the rates were even lower, and so
but we're really excited because in 15 years our kids will have just all gotten out of the house.
Praise the Lord.
Hopefully. And we'll have our house paid off, so that'll be great. Okay, so no debt.
Yep.
Pay stuff off.
So that's the first thing we've learned, and we've really tried to live by that. So we're coming into this the 3rd time through, feeling like we're in a good place there. But the second area, this is really why we're going through FPU again, is a big lesson from FPU is making and keeping a budget. And we have had seasons where we've done better at that, where we have really sat down, worked through our budget, updated it regularly, and really lived by it. But there was a situation with our cash, I think you ought to tell that story, that made us kind of go away from the cash system and the envelopes and all that got us away from the budget.
Yeah, if you've done Dave Ramsey in the past, he was big on the cash system. And so you would kind of figure out your budget, and as much as you could do cash, you would do that and go get it out at the beginning of each paycheck, divide it in your envelopes, and then use that. And that is very helpful because you actually feel those dollars going out, so that was good. But I had an experience to where I had just gotten our cash out for the pay period. I'd gone to work out at the YMCA and left my purse. I hid my purse in like the compartment, but they saw that I got out of the car without a purse. And later the police were saying that's what they look for. And so they broke my windows and they knew where to look because I'm not that bright and obviously hide it where they know to look. So they got all of that cash and we didn't have that.
Yep.
And so, I think from that, I was very leery of doing the cash system anymore. But then we had friends come over recently, and they were telling us that Dave Ramsey has now gone to a really good app and an online website where it's a zero-based budget. And so it pulls in all your information from your debit card from your bank, puts it in there, and it's been easy to categorize, right?
Yeah, it's really good. It's called Every Dollar, and so that's part of why we wanted to go through FPU again. Was we felt like we needed to get back on, because we do have a budget, but to keep it, you really got to track your spending against your budget. And so since we got away from the cash system, we've been using the debit card to do everything. We just haven't been great about keeping up with it. So this is a big deal for us to get back into FPU with Every Dollar, and it's an app and it's a website, and yeah, you just track every dollar. So far, we've just been doing it for a few weeks, but it downloads everything from your bank account, and you just categorize it, and you can see compared to your budget how your spending was doing. So I think that'll help us.
Yeah, and I wonder for any of you, if your story is similar to ours, if you've gotten any of the stimulus payments from the government or just other pay increase. I think as that happened for us, I at least felt a little bit more lenient with our budget. Like, oh, we have extra. And so when we would go over, I didn't really process how much we were going over. And then also we have 4 teenagers. And so that's getting more expensive. Just life with them is more expensive, and they're totally worth it, but it is what it is. So we just found ourselves having to draw from savings more often than we should have been. Like and there was no reason, because we'd actually had pay increases since we had started our budget, but yet we just weren't keeping the budget. And so that was a problem for us. We were finding ourselves, where we were just more and more comfortable with saying, oh, we need to pull that from savings, when we shouldn't. We should be putting money in savings. So, okay.
That's right.
So
that leads to the third one, which you were just saying, which is our big lesson was that we need to save for emergencies and expenses, because I think when you're in a credit card system, you kind of think, I've got this credit card here for emergencies or for extra expenses that I wasn't planning for. But a big part of FPU is planning ahead for those things, and so getting your emergency fund really funded and established, and so you're just prepared for that. And you and I have talked about how we even see how that impacts our marriage relationship, because when our emergency fund is well funded and there's plenty of money there, then there's a little bit more of a sense of peace with me that if something happens with a car, if something happens at the house, with one of the kids, with one of their events or whatever, that I don't freak out about it, because I know we've planned ahead for that. But if we don't have that money in savings, then I am more on edge, with that.
Yeah, we had just found ourselves where we had really done well to prepare and they say to have 3 to 6 months. You save $1,000 in your emergency fund, which we know really doesn't, if you have to get new tires, or if, any kind of car situation, medical situation.
You can go through $1,000 real quick.
Yeah, so that's just a kind of a snowball to get you excited about saving, and then they want you to move to 3 to 6 months of savings. And so that's harder to do, but we had gotten there. And as we were there, you start looking around and thinking, oh, we could do a kitchen remodel, which we had that thought and we acted on that. And it's great. Like, we love it, but it definitely depleted our emergency fund.
Right.
And so at that point, I saw a change in you. I saw you getting just more tense when we would have financial conversations.
For sure.
And I miss that. So I think I like to live spontaneously. Like, I like to say, let's go on a trip, and us be able to do that, and him to be able to say yes without immediately being like, no, we don't have money for that. So for me to live in that freedom, like, I have to help him with keeping the budget to have that savings. And we don't hoard money at all.
No.
But I do want the freedom to be able to give and to go and do things randomly without causing so much stress in our marriage.
Yeah, totally. So those have been our big lessons from FPU. No debt, paying stuff off, making and keeping a budget, and then saving for emergency and expenses. Obviously, there's a lot more to the program, but many of you have taken FPU. You're working through a budget. You're working through savings. What have you learned? What's been your biggest takeaway? Let us know in the comments. Send us a question. Maybe finances is a real tense area in your marriage. We know that a lot of marriages get sideways because of money, and FPU can be a program that can help you get on the same page. So anyway, praying for you today that money does not become an obstacle to your oneness as a couple, and that it doesn't become something that stresses you out, because we know you can have peace when it comes to your money.
Yeah.